So when my family and I first moved here from Virginia, we packed up this U-Haul full of a bunch of our stuff, and we didn't have a house to move it to yet, and so we had to get a storage unit to put it. And when I called the storage company, I got the dimensions of the storage room, and I thought it sounded good. I mean, it seemed big. It was a 5 by 10 room, and I thought, okay, in my mind, I thought 5 feet by 10 feet, that should do it, right? And I wasn't thinking about the height or anything like that, or the depth, and so I kind of thought that should be enough for sure. And so we drove the U-Haul up here and got here later in the evening and pulled up to the storage unit, and I'm ready to I'm tired, I'm ready to get everything in there, and I open up the door, and that's when I realize this storage unit really is very small. I mean, when you look at how much stuff we had in this U-Haul, and you look at the size of this sort of closet-sized storage unit, you would not believe what I would tell you when we got it all in, right? Like literally my wife looked at that and we got over the initial disappointment, and then maybe it was a childhood of playing Tetris. I don't know, but we started to piecemeal all of this stuff into this little bitty storage room, and somehow we got it all in there. But I mean, it was like from the floor to the ceiling, from wall to wall, it was stuffed full of our stuff. And I'm not even sure, I mean, it would have been tough to fit one sheet of paper. We had that thing packed so tight. And really, when we looked at it, we stepped back, and it felt like the impossible had just happened. It felt like a miracle. Well, I say that to say that this is kind of the lens we use a lot when we approach the narrative of Noah and the ark. When we think about that story, I mean, we think about how could he fit that many animals into that space. I mean, even when you take into consideration the dimensions that are listed in Scripture of how big this boat was, and then you think about how many millions and possibly billions of family, genus, and species of animals there are that had to come onto this ark, and they had to have pairs of these and 7 of those, and man, it just seems miraculous to think we fit all of those in the boat, right? That's oftentimes our approach when we think about Noah and the ark, is that it's about a God who can make the impossible possible. It's about a God of miracles, right? And that's not an incorrect thought. I mean, certainly you could deduce that from the story, but I'm not sure that idea captures the fullness of the story of Noah and the ark, right? That it's not just about amounts of water and numbers and pairs of animals and rainbows, etc. That there's something else going on here. Listen to what it says in Genesis chapter 8, verses 15 through 17. Right, and this is towards the end of the story where God at the beginning has kind of judged that the world is full of wickedness and evil and death. And so he judges Noah to be righteous and says, no, I want you to go build this boat. I want you to fill it full of these animals. And then after the flood, then through you, I will do something great. And so in Genesis chapter 8, verses 15, this is what it says. It says, then God said to Noah, come out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring out every kind of living creature that is with you, the birds, the animals, all the creatures that move along the ground, so that they can multiply on the earth and be fruitful and increase in number on it. You see, when we approach this story, when we approach this narrative, we talk a lot about what God put into the ark. But maybe what's important for us today is to think about what God brought out of the ark. I mean, ultimately, what God brought out of the ark was restoration. I mean, this is a story about a God who looks at the world, he looks at the planet, he looks at the people, and he says, these people are destroying themselves, death and sin abounds. I need to redeem and restore creation. And so out of the ark, what God does is he pulls life out of that will then begin to repopulate the planet in his love and in his grace. I mean, really what it does for us, I mean, you think about it, you fast forward through the New Testament, and Noah and the ark, God brings life and grace and love into the world through one man and his family. And you fast forward to the New Testament, and isn't that what God does through Jesus Christ for you and me? That for you and me, through one man, God brings restoration and redemption and love and life. And for me, that's what the ark represents. The ark represents newness and restoration for me and my life, but it also represents a mission. Because I think it would have been easy. I think Noah already has a shelter, already has a place, already has food there with him in the ark, and God calls him to come out of that and to do something that's really challenging. And maybe God is calling you today. Like maybe all of us in Jesus Christ, we're like a bunch of Noahs. And God is calling you, hey, listen, in this world, it's easy for you to sit in, to watch what's going on, to see injustice, and to remain quiet, to not do anything. But maybe God today is calling you to come out of your ark like Noah did and bring love and life and restoration and grace into this place that's filled with darkness and death.